Hola, caballeros, señoras y señoritas. Contento 5 de mayo. Soy Mike Pivavaski, tu anfitrión en El Rundown.
Okay, it sounded like you were speaking Spanish, and then you threw in a Polish accent there somewhere in the middle.
Hey, listen, it's nothing perfect. I thought about going with Miguel instead of Mike, but you see how it goes. You see how it goes.
Oh, folks, I'm your co-host today, Craig DeLuz. I'll be guiding you assisting you in the process of getting through Cinco de Mayo. But now it's important to note that that's not the only important thing about today.
No. Today is another special day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Yes, it is Hump Day.
My favorite part of that commercial is when he goes, Mike. Guess what day it is? I love it.
Woo-hoo! That's my favorite.
Now, Craig, it is also Cinco de Mayo. So, do you have any Cinco de Mayo plans?
I will just say this. Usually, what I've found as I've gotten older is that holidays are generally celebrated with both food and libation. In this case, it will probably be some sort of Mexican cerveza and tequila.
Yes, I believe that will be today. Today will be celebrated by much alcohol and some food as well. And you have to do it in that order. You have to drink first because I don't know about you, Craig, but I can't eat on an empty stomach.
Yeah, well, it's also good because chips can be dangerous. Those nacho chips. So if you actually numb your stomach with a good alcoholic beverage, it makes it for a much softer landing.
Folks, Craig knows what he's talking about. Those tortillas are pointy, and if you try dropping them on your stomach and it's dry, they could poke holes in the bottom. They could damage it. You need to put some fluids down there, some liquids, no matter what. And if you put alcohol, like Craig said, it'll help absorb the pain as well as when they drop. So it's much more healthy for you to drink before you eat.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, folks, take it from the health expert.
Listen, I am a licensed physician's assistant in the Philippines, but that's a different story completely.
I don't even want to hear that story. I don't know that it's appropriate for our audience. But speaking of stories, why don't we begin the rundown?
Let's do this. Let's jump into the first story, Craig. What do we got here? We've been 2 weeks, has it been since the conviction at the Derek Chauvin trial over the death of George Floyd, and it appeared pretty good right there off the bat. Everybody looked good. We heard from people talking, about the online legal justice system. The Facebook lawyers are taking a look at it. I can tell you that the only thing that mattered is what the jury heard. What the jury heard was all that mattered, no matter what other coverage you saw. That's where the decision came from. Well, Craig, now it looks like there might be a problem with one of the jurors. We know that, and folks, if you don't know the legal system, the juries are selected with the agreement of the state and the defense through a voir dire process. So that's questions ahead of time on paper and maybe questions in the courtroom. Well, like I said, now it looks like there might be a problem with one of those jurors.
A juror who served on the Derek Chauvin murder trial is now defending a decision after this picture of him surfaced online. Now, he was wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt that said, "Get your knee off our necks," a reference to George Floyd's death. Brandon Mitchell told the Minneapolis Star-Tribune that he does not even remember wearing the t-shirt and that it was taken during last year's March on Washington. He did not confirm or deny the authenticity of the picture to CNN. Jury consultant and attorney Alan Turkheimer joins me now. Alan, thanks for being with us. Let me first read these two questions that were on the questionnaire sent to potential jurors before selection. First, did you or someone close to you participate in any of the demonstrations or marches against police brutality that took place in Minneapolis after George Floyd's death? March on Washington was obviously in Washington. He answered no. Second question, other than what you have already described above, have you or anyone close to you participated in protests about police use of force or police brutality? He replied no to that. Are his answers problematic, and could there be grounds for appeal?
The answer to that question would likely be yes.
Yeah, right. Wow.
I mean, the thing that gets me about this whole particular thing is, dude, first of all, lied, right?
Yeah.
He just straight up lied. Whether he didn't remember or anything like that, that's going to be their argument. Their argument is going to be, well, he depends on what you meant by, did you participate in, or did you have an opinion already? Clearly, he already had an opinion going in, and when you listen to other interviews from this juror, he made it clear that this decision for him was about making a change, not about making sure that someone who was being charged with the crime, if they were guilty, were found guilty, or if they were innocent, were found innocent.
Yeah, Craig, as my teenage daughter says, she misremembered her words. That's probably what this guy's going to have to do, is say something along those lines, because here's the picture of him wearing the shirt. Did he just wear the shirt while he was there and take it off and give it back to someone? No, that shirt's probably still sitting in his drawer or in his closet somewhere. This is a clear violation of that policy that's supposed to give you an impartial jury. So we'll see how this works out. They'll appeal this, and we'll see what the higher court says.
Well, and you put this together with the statements by Maxine Waters and all of the influence that they've sought to put on this. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to argue that he got a fair trial. And like I said, me, man. I was one who was like, okay, well, let him get out there. I didn't watch the entire trial, so I don't know all of the evidence. I did look at a lot of the recaps of it. I admittedly, their argument was that some people argued that they proved he was guilty of murder. Some people are like, well, no, really, the defense just didn't do a very good job of defending him. I thought manslaughter was probably a given, pretty close to a given on this one. But to convict him of murder, when you know that the goal of the person there was basically to send a message, not to make sure justice was done, it's hard to say he had a fair trial.
You and I said on here many times, trust the process, trust the process. Yeah. We don't know the facts. Let this go through. Trust the process. And then we also said our concern with the jury was they did not move this out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area because those people there were concerned that their own city would be burnt down. So those were where the jury pool came right there from where this crime occurred. They should have been moved a couple hundred miles away. So at least the jurors would not have been concerned about their own city getting torched if the verdict was wrong. That's why you move it. Whether or not anybody else had any knowledge of it, you move it so that there's no additional pressure for that kind of thing to happen. Well, here we are, Craig. We find a juror that clearly had a bias because it was his town. It's exactly what you and I discussed on the program here.
Well, you know what? There was another juror who she was an alternate juror who basically said, she didn't say that it influenced her decision, but she definitely said that it was something that she was concerned about. She was concerned about people finding out where she lived and vandalizing her home and attacking her family.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, once again, came from words that came out of the mouth of elected officials, encouraging people to take aggressive action.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And listen, heard it here, folks. Heard it here first, folks. This is exactly what we've been telling you all along. So maybe we get some credit points out of this one, Craig. But we'll see how it works out.
We shall see. We shall see.
Craig, next, want to move on to a pro Second Amendment story. They get more difficult to find as the Biden administration grabs foothold here. But out of Teller County, Colorado. And that is, let's see if I recall, just west of Colorado Springs and a little bit south of Denver. So down in that area. Great outdoors country. Well, the sheriff there, his name's Jason Mikesell. He has said that, hey, citizens of Teller County, I am your duly elected constitutional sheriff. And I can tell you, you do not have to worry about any new illegal federal gun laws that may or may not be passed because we will not be enforcing them here in Teller County.
Well, what's great about this is the number of sheriffs across the country who have come out and said this, and even the number of local municipalities, county board of supervisors, and even some states have come out and just said, look, we're not going to we took an oath of office, right? And in that oath of office, we swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And we are not going to enforce laws that clearly violate the Constitution of the United States. And if you don't like it, you can take it up with the courts. You can take it up with the higher courts. But in the end, we're the ones that were elected and tasked with the idea of enforcing these laws. And just because you don't believe in the Constitution, members of whatever various state legislature or Congress, just doesn't mean that we're not. It doesn't mean that we don't believe in it. Just saying.
I'm sorry, Craig. It's Cinco de Mayo. Well, hey, listen. I'm even wearing my Cinco de Mayo shirt. This is my proud Mexican heritage red, white, and green shirt. So I'm wearing it for today.
Yeah. As you can see, the racial sensitivity training is not taking.
Hey, I'm taking another one of these right here. There we go.
Lord
Dose
Jesus,
Eckies. You know how many Eckies that is? That's dose of them. All right. Yeah, Craig. Again, back to the Second Amendment sanctuary county is what he's declared there. That Colorado passed a new gun law there. One of their with their governor Jared Polis, he passed a new gun law for a safe storage act, which is great in theory. Listen, everybody should take responsibility for their firearms, and when they're not using it, actively carrying it or using it, they should be secure. And the issue with that, Craig, is there's already a federal law on that. It's the Youth Handgun Safety Act, so they must be locked up and secured from children anyway. Well, so they passed another law saying the same items, and the sheriff there has said, and how would you like me to enforce this? Do I illegally enter everybody's home to see if they've locked their firearms up accordingly? So we're just going to throw out, the Fourth and Sixth Amendment and everything else, and we're just going to do this. The Third Amendment, I'm going to enter their home, and just stay there and watch them. Going to live there now? What? It's crap, and the sheriff knows it. And we're seeing this, like you said, around the country. What's this mean, Craig? What do these Second Amendment sanctuary counties mean to people? Well, listen, they're largely symbolic at the moment, all right. But if the big federal government starts to come down, the local sheriffs are going to cross their arms behind their chest, stand there, and say, "You're getting no help from us. In fact, you may have us prevent you from coming in here and violating the rights of others." So,
exactly,
we'll continue to track. We'll continue to track and monitor.
Good stuff. I like to see America at work.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. Speaking of America at work, our former Attorney General Bill Barr. You're familiar with him. He was President Trump's Attorney General there. Well, it seems as though the new Department of Justice has decided they want to go tear through all of the previous Attorney General's documents and memorandums and all his work product that he did. Specifically, what they're looking for right now is the memorandum from the Office of Legal Counsel concerning President Trump's whether there was obstruction of justice or not obstruction of justice before we got to his impeachment, if you recall.
Well, what's interesting about that is, keep in mind that before Donald Trump got elected, there were chants of lock her up. You remember that, right?
Yes.
And Donald Trump decided for the good of the country that it was time to move on. And, let's move on and let's move America. Let's make America great again. Let's not worry about further dividing the country by going after Hillary Clinton. I don't know that I necessarily agreed with that, but I understood it. But now you've got the exact opposite happening, in that they are looking to not just tear down Donald Trump. They're looking to tear down anybody who remotely was associated with, tied to. And you're going to have a hard time doing that with a guy like Bill Barr. I don't agree. There's some things I don't agree with him on. But for the most part, he has, as an attorney general, been above reproach.
Yeah, listen, I think Bill Barr is going to have all of his I's dotted and T's crossed, and you're not going to be able to get anything on him. Much like they went after Rudy Giuliani last week, I think Rudy Giuliani is the same way. You're not going to be able to put anything on him, and he'll probably have your legs broken also, because he's America's mayor from New York. That's how it works up there. But this is horrible.
Just,
like you
just
said.
as long as he doesn't hang out with Borat, I think Giuliani will be okay.
Yeah. Listen, that was the handlers. We got to give it to them. They were like, you know what? It's Borat. Put him in there. So, oh boy. So Bill Barr and Giuliani now are under the gun from Biden's Justice Administration or the Department of Justice. Well, they, like you said, this crap. Lock her up. Lock her up was the chant.
Right.
And what did President Trump did? He decided to keep the country together, to put the further divide in the bipartisanship that we were seeing, to allow them to continue their lives. And in fact, I believe Trump even made the joke like, she's an old lady, let her live her life. Here you are. They're starting to divide again. Well, we all have to come together and kumbaya and hold hands and here you have.
Give me your hand so I can cut yours off.
So this is it's crap. And what this is going to get, Craig, this is going to get those fences torn down. This is going to get some up close personal action if this is the route they want to take, because half a nation is going to remind them that we allowed them to govern, or to not be thrown in jail after they governed. Well, if this is the games they want to play, there's going to be. Listen, if you think what happened on January 6th was real, first off, got news for you. Wait till you see what happens when actual people decide that they've had enough, rather than just let's walk through and grab a few souvenirs.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going that far, but what I am saying is this, is that when you demonstrate that you're going to start going after your political enemies and seeking to utilize law enforcement to go after them, you are setting a dangerous precedent. And that's exactly what they're deciding to do.
Right.
And in the end, I think we're going to find that it doesn't really matter if there is any there, because all they need is the implication. All they need is we raided Giuliani's house. Doesn't really matter if that you found anything. We're investigating the memos from Bill Barr. Doesn't really matter if there's anything substantive in that memo that makes Bill Barr or makes Donald Trump look bad. It really doesn't matter, because what they're after is the perception. And as long as they can have the perception, then they feel like they can take whatever action they want. And that is the sort of thing that is going to start to motivate American people to be a lot less compliant in what is normally a peaceful transition of power.
Correct. Now, listen, this is the Department of Justice doing this, folks. This is the legal arm, the chief executive, law enforcement executive arm of the government. They're the ones looking into this. This is not just a request from Congress so they can review the records and put it into public record. No, this is we are going to arrest you and put you in jail arm of the presidency. So that's what they're doing, and they're digging into this. Now, I don't want you to think that I also am advocating violence against the administration. I'm just saying you can only push somebody so far, and I would beg that there be no violence and there be no bloodshed. But why tempt it? Why push it? Why do this? You want to come together, then come together. Drop this crap Biden administration.
Well, that's because I think there are some Marxists within the Biden administration who want full anarchy. Once again, their goal is to tear it all down. So if they can motivate others to be a part of the tearing down, then why wouldn't they do that?
Sure it is. And if they can bait people into coming and committing a crime with the firearm, guess what they can do? Now we can get another national wave of firearms restrictions and take everything away from you. How many false flags you have to see, folks, before you realize they're flags?
Right.
That's what we got going on. Craig, let's jump down to Florida, where we celebrate Cinco de Mayo on May the 5th, because it's, May the 5th, so we celebrate it. There's nothing other to do with Cinco de Mayo other than, it's May the 5th, but we'll keep going. We got more Cinco de Mayo at the end of this program show. We promise. Folks, Governor DeSantis, and I know I've been able to brag on Governor DeSantis a little bit because, Craig, you have the anti-Governor DeSantis out where you are. You live in bizarro world. You have Governor Newsom.
We call him Gavin Mussolini.
That's fitting. That's fitting. Yeah. We have the opposite here. We have Captain Florida up there in the governor's mansion. Governor DeSantis. He along with the Senate passed a series of laws in the last couple of days, or signed them into law. The first was Senate Bill 2006, which basically says, take your COVID and stick it up your the part you're sitting on right now, because we got nothing. We're not doing that here anymore. Basically, that's some really great things. Craig, if you want to have a vaccine passport, if you're a government if you're a private company, any entity in Florida whatsoever, if you require a COVID passport to do business or conduct transactions with anybody, you go into jail. We ain't having that here in Florida. He took away the ability from cities and counties and all lower forms of government to basically do their own thing for COVID. Now, if they want to have mass restrictions, they want to have social distancing, it's no longer the ability of the cities, counties, or lower government entities to fine or punish people. Now, you can still have a mask ordinance, but there'll be no punishment for it whatsoever. So if the city says we have a mask ordinance and the person says I'm not wearing a mask, then the city has to say okay. That's what's going on. And there's a bunch other, Craig. I don't know if you've heard of any of these restrictions they've got going on that excuse me, anti-restrictions now.
The thing is that some of the restrictions are really, really stupid. And, and once again, I get it. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. Fine.
Yes.
Okay. If if you want to get vaccinated, you get vaccinated. If you don't want to wear a mask, you don't wear a mask. In the end, I believe as adults, we ought to be able to get the information, know what's safe and what is not safe, know what our risks are, and guess what? Manage our risks the same way we do every other area of our lives. And we're at a point now where between vaccines and the vaccine distribution and the high percentage of people who've already had COVID, that we're at a point now where I think we can start to make these decisions and open back up. And in places like California, where literally our kids have lost 1.5 to 2 years worth of learning, it is going to affect them the rest of their lives, and we can't get our governor to provide us any information or any data. In fact, there's story after story about how the data and the information and the collection process was so screwed up by Gavin Newsom in the state of California that none of the decisions that are being made are based on science or data. It is literally just, number one, scare tactics and fear and promoting fear. But number two, being pushed by groups like teachers unions.
Yeah, down here it was great, Craig. I love that you brought up science, that we had Captain Florida, Governor DeSantis down here. He told everybody the reason he's getting rid of the masks is because we've already surpassed in many places, 40, 50% people that have gotten vaccinated. And again, if you choose to get vaccinated, great on you. That's up to you. That's your choice. Do your research ahead of time. That's what we've told you before. But if the governor said we're already over 40, 50% in vaccinations. So if we're over 40, 50% in vaccinations, that means we've built and we're building towards herd immunity. Well, that's exactly what the CDC told us. So now that you've had your vaccinations, we don't need the masks anymore. Folks, do you trust the science or don't you? You either do or you don't. You don't get to have it both ways. And it was kind of like you saw them get slapped in the face, like, wow, he threw our own words right back at us. So it was a great move by the governor. It's got Florida opening back up. Now, Craig, we've heard from the Democrat mayors all around the town. In fact, the big ones we heard from in this were Rick Kreisman over in St. Pete, who said, the governor doesn't know my city like I know my city. Well, of course he doesn't. But guess what? You're the one that reports the statistics to him. Perhaps if you're not reporting them right, then that's your issue. St. Pete mayor, you need to make sure you take care of your people by being honest about what's really going on. The mayor in Miami, same thing, Daniela Levine Cava. She said, well, Miami's a different kind of place. You know what it is? It's also a city in Florida, so you need to obey some rules. Charlie Crist, our former governor, Republican governor, who's now a Democrat, and he belongs to the U.S. House of Representatives because he lost the governorship and then took a lower job. But now he's decided he's running for governor again, so now his voice is coming out again, saying that this is all party politics. Really, Governor Crist? You've been 4 different parties in the past 10 years, or Representative Crist now, and you want to talk about partisan politics, about party politics? You need to go retire somewhere is what you need to do. The Captain Florida is taking care of us down here and is got our economy strong and our people healthy.
Exactly. Just in the end right now, the most important, and the interesting thing is you look at Florida compared to California. Florida wasn't shut down nearly as long as California was or has been, and Florida's economy is in much, much, much better shape, and the overall numbers for COVID-19 are not any different than California. So you compare
amazing, huh?
fully locked down versus locked down for a very short period of time, and then you look at the economic numbers and you realize, why did we do this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. You know, this is you'll see this from depending on the color of the state and the color of the city,
Right.
how the COVID response has been, and here we are in the
Yeah.
end with just like you said, Greg. We couldn't be more diametrically opposed politically and how this was handled across the country from each other, and here we sit with the same numbers almost a year and a half later.
Right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, ridiculous. All right, Craig, let's get into the parting shot here, shall we? Let's take a look at this.
And welcome to Cinco de Mayo,
Cinco de
Revenge
Mayo.
of the Fifth.
Woo-hoo! Now,
Oh man, somewhere you're going to be sitting. We're going to be sitting together, and it's was going to say, "What? Okay, what is
Cinco
that?
de Mayo,
What is
Revenge
that?
of the Fifth.
What is that?"
If you recall, yesterday we showed you Juan Solo because that was the May the Fourth be with you day was yesterday. Well,
Right.
I feel that the Star Wars is starting to take over the Cinco de Mayo theme, and you have Cinco de Mayo there with Luke Skywalker, and now he is the Revenge of the Fifth. So, and that would be the fifth of tequila. But I did want to give you a couple of quick facts on Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
It's not the Mexican Independence Day. It's not what it is. It is the day that the Mexicans defeated the French army at the Battle of Pueblo, depending on where you're from. So, the Mexicans had just gone through their own independence and civil war, all wrapped into one, a few years earlier than that. And then what had happened was they had borrowed a lot of money from European countries. Well, the Europeans decided they wanted their money back, and that's what this was. This was the French army of Napoleon coming to Mexico to say, "You owe us some cash. So if you're not going to give us any cash, we're just going to take some parts of your country." But the Battle of Pueblo was one of those battles during that time, and whereas this great celebration for a Mexican victory, the Mexicans ended up losing, and the French pretty much controlled all of Mexico until they decided in 1867 they were out. they were out. The Battle of Pueblo, 1862, and in 1867 the French went, "Whew, it's hot here. It's hotter than we realized." So we're going back. We're going back. A lot of this went on, and I'll tell you why the Americans don't know about what happened down here during this time period from 1858 to 1867 when Mexicans were having all of their own wars. Well,
Because we don't care.
well, because we were kind of in the middle of our own war from 1860 to 1865, and
Yes, we were.
did not care about anything else going on outside of our borders. That's really it. The Americans had official policy of neutrality on it, and that was because we couldn't have mustered one horse and one rifle to send down here because we were using it for our own nation's rebuilding process, trying to control the Civil War. So a little bit of history there on Cinco de Mayo, and hope I didn't screw it up too bad if you're actually a real history buff. Not just
I'm just wondering how many shots of tequila it's going to take to completely wipe that from my memory.
Yeah, I would probably go with tonight's worth of
Tonight's worth.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll be like, what is this? The first episode of the rundown?
Exactly.
I don't remember any of them before this. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, folks, hey, that's going to be it for this episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, share, subscribe, and let your friends know. Rundown is the place to be every day.
Like, share, subscribe, and be responsible tonight if you're going to consume.
Yes.
An Uber is much cheaper than going to jail or a funeral, okay? Just be responsible, folks.
Amen, and amen. We'll talk to you guys later.